If you want to add more attraction to any specific hunting area, a water hole is a great way to do that. Now, that being said, I like to focus on areas that already have deer movement through them, and then we can increase the amount of movement and also pinch that movement or choke that movement down to give us better shot opportunities or better intel inventory on cameras, so on and so forth. But what I want to talk about today is the right way to install a water hole. A lot of guys put water holes out. There's a lot of ways to do it. So maybe I shouldn't say the right way, but more of the best way to do it from my experience. Just try to be more connected with your environment. Try to be more connected with your food. Hey guys and gals, Thomas here with the Untamed Ambition. I'm out here on a client property and I just got done installing this water hole. So as you can see, first and foremost, I've got an earth pond here. I would not recommend any other foreign object or liner other than these earth ponds, okay? Regular pond liners don't hold up. They get cold, they get brittle, they break down, UV light breaks them down. I know I talked to guys that swear by them. You show me a situation where that liner's been out for 10 or 15 years and hasn't had any issues, and then I'll believe you, okay? Plastic water tanks can be great. They're a lot cheaper of an alternative than an earth pond like this, but they're dangerous. Deer can get stuck in them. I had a client this year on another property of his that actually had a fawn get trapped in one, and luckily he had a cell camera over it and he was able to text the landowner, and the landowner got out there and rescued the fawn. The fawn was only in there for roughly 15 or 20 minutes, so that was a lucky scenario. The last thing we want to do as land managers, wildlife managers, as deer hunters is injure deer, okay? And that was a fawn, right? That's our potential future of hunting. At the same time, you see these bucks and stuff, they love to step down in these puppies. That's what's great about these earth ponds is they have these tapered sides, textured sides. Deer get lots of traction. They're not super deep. This pond here holds about 100 gallons, technically about 90 gallons of water. It's plenty of water, okay? So the earth pond's great in that regard. But, you know, a buck gets down inside there, gets startled, he's slipping and sliding around. You know, on top of that, if your stick that you put in there gets knocked out or you forget to put a stick in there, you're dealing with rodent soup. So no bueno either way. And then there's the obvious, you know, kiddie pools and stuff like that that just look like garbage in the woods. You know, I've done it before. I've put old bathtubs in the woods. Blue ponds, pink ponds. Eventually the deer will take to them and utilize them, but I don't like to look off in the distance and see that. It looks like trash in the woods. I like something a lot more natural. And again, another big advantage of these earth ponds, which are actually layered, the outer layer is coated with topsoil. So it blends in and eventually you'll get moss and stuff growing on this thing. It just kind of disappears in the landscape. And for that reason, the deer will take to it within hours of installing it. Additionally, having a liner of some sort instead of digging in a pond is one, it's going to save you a ton of money. Okay, getting an excavator or dozer or something in to dig you a big pond is going to cost exponentially more than what this costs. You know, this pond here is about $350 for the pond. It takes me less than an afternoon to install it, so I'm only charging this client for a half a day of work. So you're saving a ton of money there, and this thing's going to last forever. Not a problem there. So cost-wise, huge advantage. Beyond that, if you're in areas that are plagued with EHD, when you have an earthen pond that harbors a lot of mud, that's going to harbor that midge that spreads EHD. That biting fly lays its eggs, the larva in that mud, that's going to spread that. It's going to increase the amount of EHD prevalence in your area when there's more mud around, okay? So this eliminates that. Now, beyond the type of liner that you put in, one of the most important aspects is the location. You can see we've got a box blind behind me. There's a food plot over here, but we are in cover. I didn't put the pond in the food plot for two reasons. One, deer are going to use this exponentially more when it's within the security of cover. Food, water, shelter, right? They want to be in that cover. They want to feel security. I always say there's only two things that reduce pressure on deer. That's cover and consistency. When you have consistent water in a secure cover, a secure area, they're going to be here a lot more consistently as well. So keep it in cover. The other factor there is when you have it in cover, not out in the sun, you're going to reduce the amount of evaporation because it's in the shade. So when it's not sitting out in the sun baking all the time, the water is going to sit in there a lot more. Every situation is going to be a little bit different. You know, sometimes you do have these up on a ridge top. They can be extremely appealing. The location we are in right now, we've got doe bedding here, buck bedding up on top, but a major travel corridor that comes down through here, another one that traverses here. Again, we're on the kind of the inside corner of this field, or this food plot. It's all screened off. So it's a good travel area. So it's going to get deer. It's going to get used quite a bit. As far as installation goes, sometimes you're going to have it on top of a ridge in those ridgetop cruising areas, and you might have to fill them. Preferably, I like to cut them in on a slight slope. This one was a little bit more of an aggressive slope than I normally seek out, but this property is pretty much all straight up and down. Okay, it's either going uphill or going downhill. So I like to cut them into the hillside, and then what I do is I actually will cut a small channel, you know, basically the shovel width, and just roll it over on either side and make a big V. So now all that water that runs down this hill when it rains, and it's actually starting to rain right now, which is why I rushed out here this morning. When all that water comes down the hill, anything 10, 20 feet on either side, however far out I take those ditches, is going to channel into this pond. It's going to help it keep full a lot better. These earth ponds are pretty good too. They're tapered on the sides, so they help collect. You know, they've got a lot more surface area than just your standard straight up and down stock tank. So they're going to help collect that water a lot better as well. The last thing I want to talk about as far as installation goes, I don't level my ponds perfectly. I get them very, very close, usually off 1 or 2 degrees. But the reason for that is when this 90-gallon pond, if it gets to the point where it only has a couple gallons of water left in it, I don't want a couple gallons spread out across the whole bottom. I want it to be sitting on 1/2, so it's a lot deeper, right? That's going to give those deer a better opportunity to drink. It's going to keep that water, it's going to conserve that water a lot better. It's not going to evaporate as much. You know, again, we're still in the shade, but when you have that water spread out, the temperature is going to rise on it a lot easier. So I like to have my ponds tipped slightly one way or the other so that the water, when there's only a little bit left, all collects on one side. And then the last thing, when these are installed, I'll seed down the dirt around this. Usually I use a mixture of rye and clover. You know, it's a little bit more shade tolerant. First thing, I just want to get something growing here so we eliminate erosion potential. But then when the seed's back, you know, I put a little bit of clover in here so it has a little bit more attractiveness throughout the cool season. Beyond that, make sure you can shoot it from your stand location, okay? And make sure you can shoot it in a way that when the animal is here, that arrow passes through, it doesn't puncture your pond. We can always patch them and fix them. That's not the end of the world. But the way I have this pond set up, there's kind of a bank right here because this hill is a lot more steep. Sometimes I'll tip over trees here or there, but I want these deer to come around the bottom side here and come into this. That's going to give the hunter a really good broadside or slightly quartering away shot, and that arrow is going to go through and hit the dirt. It's not going to go into the pond, okay? And then the other thing is that when those deer drink out of this, more than likely, they're either going to go back around and hit that trail and pop out in the food plot, or they're going to step through it and go up that way, offering another shot opportunity. So always think about how those deer are going to approach that water hole and get them in the position that you want for that perfect shot opportunity without the risk of a pass-through puncturing and damaging your pond. Once these earth ponds are installed, they're done. They're maintenance free. You can come out here once a year with a rake and rake out any leaves if you want. Don't get crazy about keeping them super clean. Deer like to drink dirty water, dirty stagnant water for whatever reason. But if you do want to come out here and clean it out once a year, just a good old-fashioned rake scoop this stuff right out. Those taper sides make it really easy. Any point in time that you think you want to put a water hole in is the best time to do it, as long as the ground is thawed out. I've installed them in the middle of summer, in the middle of season, in the middle of winter. The deer will take to them rapidly. I mean, it's insane how fast they adapt to these things in the woods because they don't look foreign to them. That's why the earth ponds are so great. Thanks for watching. Please, if you like this type of content, this type of information, subscribe, like this channel, let me know that this is valuable to you, and I'll see you next time.